Hey everybody, I bought this item a couple months ago and had accidentally deleted the video clips of this, so sat down to do the flea market finds because I bought some other stuff out of this same place, and I've got the video of that stuff, but I didn't have the video of this. So long story short, I'm going to basically show you what's underneath the tarp, and probably going to already be in the title and gave it away, but this is the mother of all belt grinders. Looks like the mice have already moved in. So this is a Hammond belt grinder from Hammond Manufacturing of Kalamazoo, Michigan. This thing weighs like over 600 pounds. I pretty much paid about scrap for it. So if I end up deciding not to go forward with the restoration of this machine, I'm not going to get too hurt. So I'm 6'1", and so this thing comes up to about here on me. So this thing is really tall, takes up a lot of room in a shop, and it's older technology, I guess, for lack of a better term. What this was originally designed to do mainly was to put a finished grind on rough castings. They made a couple different variations of this. I've got a picture that I found online of this exact same unit, what it looks like fully assembled. There's a bunch of pieces I have that go here. I think we've got almost everything we need to put this section back together. And what this ends up being over here is it ends up being a table with T-slots on it and a mechanism here, and there's a motor on the other side I'm going to show you. And what it did was it allowed this to be a reciprocating table so that you could set the machine running and it would actually just grind back and forth automatically. Here's the main drive motor on the back. You can see it's massive. This is actually a 7 horsepower 3-phase motor, probably wired for 440 right now, or at least 230. But the big thing is it's a 7 horsepower 3-phase. So even if I get a phase converter to run this off of, it would have to be a massive one. So if I end up keeping this machine for myself, I'm probably going to have to change this motor out to something else. As impressive as it is that this is a 7 horsepower motor that they're using to drive this thing, this is actually the middle size. They actually made a 5 horsepower and they made a 10 horsepower version of this thing. One of the things that is missing is in this area down here that's all empty, there would have been a large slide out tray or tank where all of the coolant would dump down into, along with the abrasive material that was captured with the coolant. And then there was a tank with a recirculation pump that's also missing that would have been used. I'm not sure whether or not the tank that was underneath there had the recirculation pump in it. I think actually it might have been an outboard unit. And so that the solids, the particles, would settle to the bottom of the tank, and you would just draw off the coolant from the top and through the pump and back recirculating. But that'll be easy enough to rig something up to mimic that. So the idea was most likely in the front here, you would just pull the drawer out periodically and scoop out the sediment. Over here we have the access for the belt change. Oh, Jesus, that scared me. That mouse ran out. Oh boy, yeah, he's living in there. I'm gonna ruin your day, you little stinker. And you can see another mouse nest up on top there, but you get the gist of it. So this big assembly right here with these hoses going to it, this is actually a unit that is designed to cool the platen. So as that heats up because of friction from the belt going over it, this actually is a cooling system. right, let's let that guy go back to sleep for now. He's going to have a long night because I plan on murdering him. So overall on this side we can see this is where the coolant line comes up from the back where it's cut off. So I think it came from this line came from the pump and was the supply line, and it came up here. It went through this line here, which actually goes to that the platen, and then it came out of this line, and I think this is probably the return line. It also tees off here, comes up here, it goes to a port here, which I don't know what that was attached to originally. And then it comes over here to a line that goes down underneath, which I think actually sprays on the belt as it's going past, on its way down under the machine. Basically cleaning the grit off of the machine, off the belt as it's running. It's just a theory. This right here is the gear reduction unit that actually drives this wheel. That's still not seized up, seems like it's working fine. And this has an arm that attaches to it and creates the crank motion in order to make the reciprocation work. So there is a motor missing here, but that motor would probably just be a small 120 volt motor, nothing too fancy or elaborate. So I wasn't too worried about that. I got two hand wheels on the top here. One of them is probably belt tension and the other one's probably tracking. Got a couple of switches here. This is most likely a start-stop for a magnetic starter, and this switch right here is probably for the smaller motor that was the drive, or maybe the coolant, or both. I don't know. And speaking of which, this is probably the magnetic starter right here. Let's see if there's anything living in that. Nope, they weren't able to get in there. Okay, so somebody wrote right here with a Sharpie, 240 volt, January 24th. I'm not sure what year that is. 01 or 0 something. So that's good. So we know that this motor can run on 220. Because I'd hate to have to replace that motor with something else, because it would definitely be underpowered compared to that thing. Just noticing the drive. That's some serious drive there. 4 V-belts. So this thing was definitely made to remove some serious amounts of metal. So this pile of stuff right here is the items that I ended up getting thrown in to close the deal on the belt grinder. So this is stuff that was on shelves in the back of the machine shop warehouse area, which were dirty, missing parts, broken, no longer needed for whatever reason, or had been upgraded, and just kind of was languishing away back there and was getting ready to go to scrap, more than likely, eventually. But I ended up scoring a few deals here. So for starters, I got this metal bender, which I do not have one. I am going to have to go online and get some photographs to see exactly how this all goes together. I believe this, I forgot exactly how, but actually was clamped underneath here. There we go, like this. Yeah, okay. And then I'm not sure what that's for, but whatever. Anyways, don't know the maker on that. Might be an import. Don't care. Got it really cheap. This ended up being a nice deal. Thought it was an import when I first looked at it. It's a swiveling, angling vise, but it's made by a company called let's see, UVT, Universal Vise and Tool Company of Parma, Michigan. And these actually are pretty nice vices. Metal roller, brand unknown. Has kind of a import looking T-handle on the top here, so. Not one, but 2 hard-inch indexers. The horizontal vertical style. I've got an import one, or a UASA brand, which is also an import, but just better quality. One of these, but this is a genuine hard-inch. Notice it's missing the handle and ratcheting mechanism on the front here. And here's another one with the same thing. So I don't know if they were removing these The ratcheting mechanism went here. This one's got the spindle that will take a chuck, but these both will take 5C colts. This one has a tag right on it saying it will not index, so maybe the pins are missing or broken, because I see the pins in there, which is interesting. What was really sweet was, along with those on the shelf, were not one but two genuine hard-hinge centers. So these centers could either be used on a inspection plate for checking straightness of rods and things like that, which I forgot the part number for that, but Hardinge made that cast iron plate that these slid into. So you can see one has the coarse adjustment, one has the fine adjustment. So that's what makes me think that that's what these came off of. But they can also be used in conjunction with the indexers. So, pretty good deal. Oh, and there was one other piece. Oh, I almost forgot, I even have the original handle for this Universal Tool and Vise Company vise, which is kind of neat. And the last item might be kind of a piece of garbage. I don't know, but the gentleman I was dealing with, which was one of the employees who was in charge of this liquidation of that machine, he didn't put much value into this thing, so I decided to snag it. It's a sort of like a bench micrometer, indicating micrometer. I'm not sure who makes the micrometer part of it. Actually, there is some writing on the bottom here, but I just noticed that it had this large federal indicator on it, filthy as heck. And from what I could see underneath all this dirt, the indicator actually was still moving. It wasn't frozen. Normally I don't put a lot of value on federal indicators just because they're so common and they're old, and I don't think you can get parts for them anymore. But this was a large face one, so I figured, worst case scenarios, if this ends up being a piece of junk, I could use the I could probably get a few bucks for the large indicator from somebody. That being said, I'll have to see whether or not I could free this up. Well guys, it's clearly marked right here, made in Japan. And on the other side here, it's marked 0 to 1. So my guess is it's either an early Mitutoyo or maybe NSK. Well, I gave this a quick little cleanup, and yeah, this is a tenths indicator, and it actually is working pretty well. It's slow on the return, so it's a little gummy, but that'll be an easy fix. And then carefully try and get this tape off of here for reference use only. But that'll be a neat indicator to have if I don't end up putting it right back on this thing, because this little bench micrometer here looks like it might be able to be saved. I was able to move this back a little bit. It's very sticky and gummy, but it's not seized up from rust, so chances are if I take this plate off here, I could probably get to the whole inner workings here, clean that all out, and put it back together, and it might work fine. And then there's a fine adjustment on the bottom here. I'll have to figure out what the deal is with that. Seems like that is also sticking. But it does move. Okay. So it is not seized. So this is a repairable unit.